to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time! 3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Float game for the win! Ayla's gone! Goodbye, touchdown, Indy! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Oh. Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
And welcome to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Wednesday. Glad to have you along. Appreciate you as always, no matter where and how you're listening, whether it's on one of our great affiliates like 97.7 ESPN, The Ref, always the right call. 12:30 a.m., 104.7 FM, the voice of the region, WJOB, up in Hammond, Chicago, and in Fort Wayne on Fort Wayne's only sports station, 1380 The Fan. Just keep it locked right here all day. No reason to go anywhere else. Great content and keep you moving along throughout your day. Plenty to get to on the program. Dylan Sinn will join us here in this first hour. And, of course, we'll be talking about last night's Big Ten action. Lots of it, to be honest with you. Lots of big, important games. Indiana, Purdue, Michigan State, all involved in games last night. Purdue goes to Iowa City and gets a big-time road win for not only for Purdue, but it puts them in great position to pull in a third straight Big Ten championship. They put 90 on the board at Iowa, 90-81. Outscoring and I thought that game would go along with Purdue. I'm like, yeah, that's not going to work out well for Iowa. Braden Smith, 31 points on the night. Yeah, you can't that's just his kind of game. Kaufman-Wren had 25. Number 7, Purdue keeps climbing up. Iowa now 4-7 in the Big Ten, 13-9 overall. And then, more importantly, they take control of the Big Ten. They are now in the lead because Michigan State heads west to UCLA, and they lose to Mick Cronin's bunch 63-61 in a great Big Ten battle between number 9 Michigan State and UCLA. UCLA now 8-4 in the Big Ten, 17-6 overall as it continues to get tight at the top. Penn State, Minnesota had a little tussle. Minnesota goes on the road and they beat Penn State 69-61. USC can't keep their winning alive as they go to Northwestern and lose a tight one 77-75. And of course, Indiana at Wisconsin, they made it respectable. If you looked at the final score, it wasn't, you would have been surprised if you would have seen the beginning of the game, but the final score 76-64. Indiana loses by 12 in a game. They were down quickly by double digits, 20 right off the bat. It was 24-4. It may have been 26-4 at one point. Boy, you guys were lined up with the comments already this morning, but Andrew thinks Michigan State's going to lose 6 in a row, but I don't know if they do that or not, but Purdue is in great shape to win a third straight Big Ten title. I'd have to do some research to see. I'm sure Indiana's the last team to do that. That may be the only team to have done that. I'll have to check that out. Michigan State has definitely come down to earth, Justin. I agree with you on that. Not a great performance by Indiana last night, but I can't say that I expected as much. They were going to a place where they haven't won. They're coming off of just 2 games that were gut-wrenching, and I think I sent out a tweet last night that, that may not be the last game that Mike Woodson coaches for Indiana, but it will be the last game that anybody has a doubt that he will continue to be the coach for Indiana after this season. I think that there is no question that that's coming. And we're not the only people that are noticing that. Last night, also, I'll get back to the stats of this game, but in just another action around college basketball last night, let's see, maybe in the SEC, perhaps. Ole Miss playing Kentucky. And what? Oh, yeah, 98-84. Ole Miss. Chris Beard, big-time win over the Wildcats. He was interviewed at the half, and this is a quick comment, so hopefully you can hear it. But I think he's just being asked about his team and their play. But here's what he had to say. That's Bob Knight. He's just referencing his team's play. That's Bob Knight. If you think that name drop was an accident, wrong. It was no accident. And that's fine. He's like, hey, if I have to throw my hat in the ring myself, I will do it. But for those of you worried that I saw someone say that, oh, they've got to fire him now so they know that they're going to be looking. They know. The people that need to know. The people that would have interest, no. I think this is going to be a very short list. This is going to be akin to the football hire. And Scott Dolson already has. I would imagine he has already been doing his due diligence. If someone like Chris Beard has a chance, that's already in the works. As far as going through the due diligence, not making that happening per se. If Dusty May has a chance, I know Indiana would really love to put that bow on that. I mean, Dusty May would be one of those, you just wrap that up like a Christmas package and put a big, nice, beautiful bow on that thing. But, and I love Dusty, but I just have to think that Chris Beard is the guy for Indiana. I just think that his a little more aggressive style of play, the fact that he is won, that he wins, and he's done so without the types of resources that you would have in Indiana. But we'll see. We'll see how that works out. Russell asking, was Dusty May and Scott Dolson both managers under Robert Montgomery Knight? Yes, they were. And they were together, I believe. So that's a big thing to overcome. It is, I'm not going to lie to you. It is a big thing to overcome. We've got to take a break. Dylan Sinn's going to join us right after we take this break from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Plenty coming up right after this.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at BenDavisChevrolet.com and BenDavisFord.com.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-701-0838. 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore help you find the home you want today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Wednesday, joined now by our good friend Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. And big night in the Big Ten, Dylan, especially for Purdue as their winning continues. They go on the road at Iowa and get a solid win. They put up 90 in Iowa City on the Hawkeyes and get out of there with a nice solid win. But more importantly, they have put themselves in position for a third straight Big Ten championship as they can not only continue to win, but now that Michigan State is entering the more difficult portion of their schedule, picking up their second loss of the season last night on the road at UCLA. Now Purdue alone at the top in the Big Ten standings. And I got to tell you, they're going to be hard to catch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the only thing that they have that is a little bit tough is that they have three of the next 5 on the road. They have 5 of their final 9 games on the road, I believe. It's a tough stretch, and they are going to have to play Michigan State at East Lansing, I believe, on February 18th. So that game could well decide the Big Ten, but they have put themselves in position. They are now 10-2 in league play, so they have won 10 of their last 11 games overall. So playing extremely well. Their offense is clicking right now. Braden Smith was fantastic last night, 31 points on 15 shots. Basically, he realized in the first half that they were not moving the ball as well as he would have liked. They were not getting into offense as well as he would have liked. He basically just took over the game. He said, I'm going to do this myself. And he's able to do that now, which is something that he was not capable of doing his sophomore or his freshman year. He can just take over a game with his scoring. That's something that he's added this year. And Purdue is they're right there. As you said, no team has won 3 straight outright Big Ten titles since Purdue itself from 1994 to 1996. And the Boilermakers can do it this year.
Yeah, and it's for Indiana another disappointing loss, but this one did not come in the same fashion as the previous two, in which they were right there and had a chance to win those previous two games. And had they done that, maybe with just either of them, we're in a different conversation. But definitely, if they were able to have gotten both of those wins, Indiana is probably on most people's brackets right now, but they have still just cannot get over this gigantic hurdle and get a quality Q1 win. They have one or two, I think, but they're just not great. And this team is just letting the opportunity slowly slip away. And I think that we know where we're headed, but they're still not mathematically eliminated.
Yeah, no, there's still, that's the thing, is they had all these opportunities and there's still several of them left. They still play this stretch of 4 games. They have Michigan on Saturday. They have Michigan State after that. So theoretically, they could still worm their way in there. The problem is that they have all these good games in a row and all these opportunities. That means that you're playing a lot of games where you're not guaranteed to win or even come close. So again, it's spiraling out of control for them pretty quickly here. I was relatively, it was nice to see them kind of battle back after just getting blitzed at the beginning last night, but they just didn't come to play at the beginning of the game, which is something that you can't happen on the road against Wisconsin, right? Yeah, they were only down 12 at halftime after being down by as many as 22 in the first half, but that's not going to help you, right? Like, you needed to be ready at the outset of that game, and they just weren't. And it didn't help that Wisconsin made everything it took for the first 8 minutes of that game.
Yeah, and we kind of knew going in that Wisconsin, a prolific three-point shooting team with size. This Wisconsin team, I sent out a tweet last night before the game. This team is going to be a problem in the NCAA tournament, more so than some others, because they're starting to really gel. They can shoot the lights out of the three-point shot, and they have size. They limited Indiana. I had the stats pulled up, and I hope I can pull them up again, because it was for what Wisconsin did to Indiana. Most of it came on the perimeter, the damage, with the three-point shooting. But they were also able to handle Indiana on the interior. Daggone it, where did my stats go? Oh, there they are. Which was a little surprising, considering that is where Indiana was going to have to make their bones. But where's the points in the paint? Looking for this. Paint points, it was equal, 26-26. That's pretty good for a team that is beating you on the three-point shooting. They shot 41% of the game on 29 attempts. This is what, the third time Indiana has given up 12 made threes in the last several games.
Yeah, they did very well against Purdue from beyond the arc, but in the 5 games before that, they'd given up 55 threes overall in 5 games. So it was one of those things where you thought they turned the corner against Purdue, and they hadn't. It was kind of a 1-game blip. And so Wisconsin kind of went right back to it. And that was the biggest problem for me. Is it was the big guys for Wisconsin. It was the big guys who could shoot from the outside. And Malik Renew and Umar Ballo just did not do a good enough job of closing out early in that game. You could see them kind of every time Wisconsin had open 3, you could see one of those guys like trying to get out there, and they just were too far away because they had overhelped across the other side of the floor. And it was just a poor game plan to start. And they made some adjustments as the game went on, but it was not well executed or well designed to open the game. And if you're down by that much at the beginning, you're not going to win the game on the road. It's just not going to happen. So that game was decided in the first 5 minutes, which is frustrating for a team that needed to go on the road and get a big win. But yeah, I mean, the only thing you can do is go home and try to defend home court against Michigan now, and we'll see what happens. I don't expect that to go very well. Because Michigan is a very, very similar team where they have a whole bunch of size and a whole bunch of playmakers, and they can shoot the 3. So we're going to see how that goes. I would expect it to go pretty similarly.
Absolutely. Another amazing stat, Indiana turned the ball over only 11 times for the game. You're going to accept that most of the time. That's not bad. Wisconsin only turned the ball over 6 times. But more importantly, off of Indiana's 11 turnovers, man, they managed 18 points. That's a big number for an average number of turnovers. So in Wisconsin just made hay with virtually every situation that they could. And they used it to their advantage, especially early on. Like you said, they blitzed Indiana, got them down early, just basically knocked Indiana out. But Indiana stayed on its feet enough and staggered back and was able to kind of whittle it down a little bit. And they stayed within striking distance, but they were never a threat in the game.
No, I think it was one of those things where every time Indiana would throw the ball into traffic, Wisconsin went the other way with it, right? They knew that there were going to be opportunities in transition because Indiana doesn't get back as well as it probably should. And that was obviously something Wisconsin saw on film was, hey, if we get a steal, push it immediately because we can probably beat them down the court. And they did basically every time. That's why that points off turnovers number is the way that it is. But the problem for Indiana is that they just throw too many passes that are just kind of nonchalant, right? They're tossing.
I say that all the time.
Yeah,
they're not crisp with their passing.
Yes. And they try to it's on top of being not crisp with their passing, which is absolutely correct. They are not they throw passes that are not there. They're constantly trying to thread the needle. And it's not just Miles Rice is one of the biggest offenders here, but he's not the only one. Trey Galloway does it a lot too. And it's something that you can't do. You have to just be a little bit more simple. Matt Painter says that all the time. The word that he uses for his teams is be simple, right? And make the next pass and keep rotating the ball. And eventually a college defense is going to break down. But Indiana keeps trying to force the issue. Maybe it's a problem they're not cutting well enough. And that's part of it because you have to throw into these tight spaces because no one's open with a good cut, right? And I think that's part of it too. And Wisconsin did a good job of loading up on Umar Ballo so they couldn't get those post touches, and Umar Ballo didn't have his opportunities to throw the weak side pass he's gotten so good at. But it was just kind of there was nothing going on offensively from Indiana early in that game, and then the defense was put behind the eight ball immediately and didn't perform well in a tough situation.
Oh, it was worse than that. Do you know what total points Indiana got from their 5 starters? 35. 35 total points from all 5 starters.
Did Malik Renew score? He
scored 6. Anthony Leal scored 0. Ballo, 4. 4 points for Ballo. And Mbako,
on 3 shots, I believe.
Yes. He hit 1 of 3.
Yeah. Like part of that's part of that is defense, right? Wisconsin did a good job of loading up on Ballo. They had a guy over the top. They couldn't lob it to him. They were fronting him. They were kind of swinging the defense in his direction. The other part of it was that he just wasn't working very hard for the ball. That is just dead straight. Like he just was not. And so I think that's part of it. That was something that was really interesting to me was if you're Umar Ballo and you want to get on Miles Rice after that last game and you want to be frustrated, you want to be a leader and you want to yell in the huddle, okay, great. Like that's good to have some fire like that. But you can't come out and score 4 points on 3 shots in your next game. You can't do it. You want to be a vocal leader, you got to be a leader by example. That was the thing to me was that if you're going to do that, okay, great. The next game, you have to go out and really take it to somebody the next game and say, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to play. And that wasn't what Umar Ballo did. And I think that was the disappointing part of that game for me.
And the team went 2 of 15 from 3-point shooting. And when I say the team, that does not include Luke Goody and Bryson Tucker, who they combined to go 5 for 12. So they are the only ones that had any success shooting the 3 ball. Mbako 1 of 7, Galloway 1 of 5. Everyone else missed their attempts. 2 for 15 for the rest of the team. Not good when one of your best 3-point shooters is going 1 for 7. That's not going to help you, especially in a game where 3-point shots are at a premium.
Yeah, absolutely. Mbako struggled last night. He was kind of put in a blender by John Blackwell. Wisconsin's big wing, and he kind of got shoved around a little bit. It was more of it was John Blackwell going to Mbako. This is a man's league, and you need to get out of my way. And it was not good for Mackenzie Mbako. I continue to think that he is not really an NBA player. I know we heard at one point he was going to be a one and done guy. He is not really an NBA player, in my opinion.
We talk about Mbako.
Yeah,
He doesn't have the motor.
No, well, not even the motor. He doesn't have the ball handling. He doesn't have
the defense.
It's lateral quickness. It's nothing.
Shot making ability.
Yeah,
he can get to the rim, but he does not have that.
Yeah,
I watched AJ DeBansa over the weekend in Monteverde. Let me tell you, he's 6'9", and he will leave Mackenzie Mbako in his Adidas. He will just dump him and get to the hole around.
John Blackwell did that repeatedly last night. I don't think John Blackwell's any kind of NBA.
He's no Dylan Sinn. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's right. But I do think that was part of it. Is that Indiana was trying to come back last night, and Mbako turned the ball over 2 possessions in a row by just dribbling, getting the ball stripped from him as he tried to get to the rim. Just had it straight up taken away from him. And because he's not a very good ball handler. If he doesn't have a straight line to the rim, he's going to get the ball taken from him. And it's not very good. And there wasn't a guy last night. I think this is why it was disappointing to see Ballot only take 3 shots. There wasn't a guy last night for Indiana that said, okay, this is not going well. Give me the ball. I'm going to do something here. And that's what you need on a team that's going to stop a run, is someone who's going to take control, and no one really did. Miles Rice tries sometimes, but he's not able to get to the rim and get you a bucket, right? They don't have a guy on this team, again, who can really get you a bucket when you need it. The last guy they really had like that was Jalen Hood-Schifino, and he's not walking through that door. So it's not very good for Indiana right now. Again, we'll see what happens against Michigan, but I'm skeptical.
Yeah, they don't make this is not I've said this a lot here of late. This team's just not very high basketball IQ. They don't make the right decisions. They don't make natural decisions that are natural. But I think a lot of that, there's other facets that go into that. I think that what is trying to be forced, I think there are a lot of square pegs trying to be forced into round holes. With this team, and that goes to Mike Woodson. He does not. I don't think he has the capability of judging talent the way he should thoroughly, and I think it shows on the court. And they don't have the ability to make the adjustments for these guys, because who's getting better on this team? On this particular team, I have yet to see anyone get better. We sure see a lot of people disappear. Where had Bryson Tucker been? What happened to, and you go through slumps. I get that. Mackenzie Mbako, it's just a weird. We've got to take a break. Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette is with us talking Big Ten basketball. Big win for Purdue last night as they take the lead in the Big Ten Conference. It's Michigan State gets an L out west versus UCLA. Indiana takes another loss. They're 6th in 7 games. Michigan coming to town on Saturday with Dusty May. Things that make you go hum. We've got more coming up on the backside from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios, and we're back with it right after this. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the hard truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Marie Island, Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at bendavischevrolet.com and bendavisford.com.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Wednesday. Glad to have you along. Hope everyone's doing well. Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette with me now, and talking Big Ten basketball. Purdue at the top of the standings now, all alone at 10-2. Michigan State takes an L last night out west in at Pauley Pavilion against the Bruins. Michigan Wolverines, they're kind of lurking in the background, Dustin. And speaking of the Wolverines, Dusty May brings them to Bloomington on Saturday. And that's going to be one of the most unique environments that I can recall. And I asked this question yesterday, and then someone sent a message later on that made sense. But I was thinking, has there ever been a time when Indiana basketball was where it is right now, and one of the top names to replace the coach comes into Assembly Hall to coach during that segment? And I couldn't think of it. And then someone mentioned Steve Alford when he was at Iowa playing against Mike Davis. I'm like, oh, okay. That's back when people were still calling for Steve Alford. Now, thankfully, that has ground to almost a halt. You don't hear too many people doing that anymore. And for those of you that are still wondering why, it should be obvious to you by now. He just never had the success that you need. He's never had the success that Dusty's having or that Chris Beard is having.
He had a very similar tenure at UCLA to the one that Mike Woodson has had at Indiana. Yeah, he had basically
not as bad. They went to the Sweet 16
one time. Yeah, they went to the Sweet 16 one time.
One of only four trips of his in nearly 30 years as a head coach.
Yeah, he is currently at Nevada, for those wondering. And
exactly, that tells you another thing.
Yeah, but no, that it was interesting. That was something that I was doing my kind of analysis last year of Mike Woodson, because it's a very interesting kind of tenure that he had, where you make the tournament your first 2 years as a head coach and you miss it your third year. That's pretty rare. I looked it up. It's only happened 12 or 13 times for any coach in the country in the last 20 years, 25 years really. And Steve Alford was one of those. He made the tournament his first 2 years at UCLA, and then his third year they went 15-19. It was even worse than what Woodson did last year at IU. And then his fourth year, that was the Lonzo Ball class. They went 31-7, I believe, but they lost in the Sweet 16 as a number 2 seed. And then he got fired, I believe, a year and a half later. He got fired midseason. So yeah, it's kind of the juice was not worth the squeeze there. And he did not have as good of a run at Iowa as Frank McCaffrey has, for example. Like Frank McCaffrey is a better basketball coach than Steve Alford is. So it's one of those things.
Whoa! That's what?
Yeah, Frank McCaffrey did better at Iowa, has done better at Iowa than Steve Alford did.
Okay.
I just want to point that out for people who are still clamoring for Steve Alford.
Yeah.
And,
which is funny because you bring up the most milk toast coach in the Big Ten.
Yes,
the most milk toast program.
Sure, like I mean, but those are the facts, and so that's why like it is one of those things where he just wasn't. He never had the success relative to the program standard that he was at. He's had a good season or two at Nevada, but that's about it. And so it's the juice is not worth the squeeze there. I think we could say.
No, it's time for Indiana to. They're going to have to put on their big boy pants. I obviously Scott Dolson is doing his due diligence right now.
Yes,
there's no question. He's gauging the interest of Dusty May. I'm going to have to assume. This is assumptions, first of all, on my part. So don't think that I'm talking out of my butt. I'm not. I'm just they were basketball managers together on the 87 team, right?
No. Dusty May is a 2000 alum. I believe. He's a little bit younger. Yeah. They were both managers, but Dusty May was about a decade after Dolson.
Okay, you're right. I don't know why I was thinking. I'm thinking of LJ Wright, a guy I went to high school with, who is with the NCAA now, head of all men's championships, who was with Dusty on the 87 team. So that's good. So there is a crossover that I think that Indiana fans would love to be able to check. But Chris Beard gives you another crossover. Now, not that if I were a fan right now, I wouldn't give two craps on what their coach's connection was. Three words. Do they win? That is it. That's all you need to concern yourself with. You've got to get a winner. You have to get a Kurt Cignetti. And by a Kurt Cignetti, I don't mean a guy you've never heard of or not, that is from the lower level. I mean a guy that wins, a guy that believes he's going to win, that sells that belief and sells it in a way that it's bought by the players, because Kurt Cignetti's players bought everything he sold, and he sold it to the players, to the fans, and it was a good deal. No one wanted their money back after that. You got to have that same basketball coach. And I think that they wouldn't go wrong with either Dusty May or Chris Beard. I think they're two very different kinds of coaches. But I think, to be honest, for Indiana, if I were picking, and I hate to say this because I love Dusty, but Chris Beard just seems like the natural pick for Indiana to get them back to where they were, where they need to be, and to marry it with football and give them a 1-2 punch that other schools will be jealous of.
Yeah, I mean, like it's one of those things where I think if you can't do the Cignetti model at IU basketball, because you can't just grab a guy who's been successful at lower levels and say, hey, that'll translate to IU, because IU basketball is a different animal, right? You need some experience at the higher level, I think. I actually threw out Chris Collins. I think that Chris Collins he not only has won at Northwestern in a way that no coach has ever won at Northwestern before. He was an associate head coach at Duke. He was coach in waiting at Duke for a very long time. He knows what it means to be at a big program. And the problem is, if you get one of these guys from a lower level program, I know people like Ben McCollum, the guy from Drake who won like 3 Division II national championships and now has Drake at 20-2 in his first season. Great, good. That's your Cignetti model, right? That would work for some teams, but he'd get swallowed up by just everything around Indiana. right? And I think that that's the problem is you need someone with higher level experience. Now, the problem is there aren't that many guys with higher level experience who want to leave the job they're currently in, because if you have higher level experience, that's because you're generally having success, right? So we'll see. I like a guy that I've seen thrown out there is Mark Byington, who was with Signetti at JMU and has turned Vanderbilt around in his first year. Problem with these first year coaches, and Dusty May comes into that is in that category as well. If you've only been in your job for 1 year, you are going to need you're going to need to pay Mike Woodson's buyout. You're going to need to pay a pretty large buyout for the coach to get out of his current contract, and
Not
then you're
true.
going to need what makes you say that?
Dusty May. That's the only reason I continue to keep Dusty May in my conversation, even though he's in the first season at Michigan, is because do you know what his buyout is right now in his first season?
I do not.
$5 million until May 1st, and it goes to $4 million. That is the absolute lowest buyout by anybody in a Power 4 position in their first season. It's crazy low.
I actually did not know that. Yeah.
One of the things, I researched that. And then one of the things that I heard, which not corroborated, but heard, was that there was a last minute switch. He was going to Louisville. And then there was kind of a last minute switch to Michigan. I reported he was going to Louisville. He was. But then that last minute change of mind, I was told, was because he was able to negotiate that lower buyout. There's no way Louisville would have done that. They would have known he's going to Indiana first opportunity he gets if we bring him here. But the sheer fact that he has that kind of buyout, I'm like, get out of here. This is Michigan. Michigan's not going to give a first-year basketball coach that kind of a buyout unless he really demanded it. So I have to imagine that is the case. Chris Beard's buyout, I believe, is only $3.5 million right now. So their number 1s and 2 options, 1A and 1B, will cost them less money than getting rid of Mike Woodson.
Okay, interesting.
Now, that brings up another question. Why, with all of the bonus clauses and all of the clauses for making extra money, and if you do this, you win, and if you do this, and if you do this, why do they not put in clauses, but if you don't achieve this, you lose this. If you don't hit this mark, you don't get this. If you don't have a winning season, you don't get this. If you don't make the NCAA tournament, you don't get this. It needs to go both ways, because you're only incentivizing them, but you're not decent. You're not, not that you should. Everyone should have that will and desire to win. But man, when you can just sit back and relax and not worry about it, boy, not many of us have that kind of job security.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I think that that's just kind of the going rate for coaches. Like, you're not going to get a coach if you're going to try to put those kind of clauses in his contract, I think.
Well, if everybody did,
it's a collective action problem, right? It is that if everyone did, sure, but the second one team doesn't because they want to get ahead, I want a better coach, I want to punch above our weight, I'm going to give this coach an incentive to come here because we're the only school that is not going to make him sign that. Suddenly everyone has to do it because now you're behind the 8 ball, right? So it's one of it is a collective action problem where, sure, if everyone did it, great, but you get one outlier, then everyone has to follow. And so I think that's what's kind of happened over the years as coaching salaries have really ballooned is, well, now you have to pay, like if you are Indiana and you want to hire a good coach from away from his previous school, well, his previous school was giving him all these incentives. IU has to do the same if they want to lure him away, right? So I think that's kind of the way it happened.
Fans are under a lot of the wrong perceptions. Jeff asked, what coach in his right mind will want to come to Indiana after the mass exit that happens before a new coach is hired? Fire Woodson now. I don't understand that. So do you think the timing of when he's fired is going to affect who leaves. That's not the case. There's going to be an exodus no matter what. There would have been an exodus no matter what. You're going to have that when you have a change of regimes, period, number one. But number two, you look at people like Pat Kelsey. You look at people like Mark Pope, Rick Pitino. Who am I missing that are in their first seasons or second seasons?
Dusty May, quite frankly.
Dusty May.
He turned over that roster. Yeah.
Good coaches know what they're doing. It has nothing to do. Coaches that want the job don't give two smacks about any of this stuff. They don't care because they know the resources are there. They know the state produces the players. They know that the history is there and it will attract players, and that all it takes is to a spark. Indiana is one of those. It just needs the spark. Once that spark is lit, boom. If you think Indiana football took off, get the hell out of here. Indiana basketball is going to be another juggernaut when you get that right guy, because this thing has already blazed its own trail. It already has the pathway. Indiana football didn't. It had to create its own. But Indiana basketball, light that fire and watch it go again, because everybody likes to be a part of a winner, but everybody loves to be a part of a rejuvenated winner.
I think that's part of it too, is that like, I like the examples you brought up with Kelsey and Pope, because those are the two that I've been looking at this year. Those guys brought in 13 guys each, like 13 new guys on their rosters this year that just they grabbed. Kelsey brought in some guys from College of Charleston. I think that Pope brought in maybe one or two guys from BYU, but it's mostly guys they got the job and they filled out the roster via the transfer portal. And obviously that's not what you're going to do long term at those schools. But for their first year, they got 10 guys each out of the transfer portal, and they have built winners in year one there. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen at IU, because those guys have done really good jobs. It's not like a guarantee, but in the
I will tell you right now, Indiana will be in the tournament in their first season under the new coach.
Okay. You have to make the hire first, right? You have to make a good hire first. But I think that
if they don't make a good hire, then we're having a whole different conversation.
Sure. And I think that it is a reasonable expectation to say you can get to the tournament. I mean, look, Mike Woodson, who we at this point think is not a particularly good program builder, took IU from 9 wins to 21 in his first year. People forget that. Like, that was a thing that happened. I tweeted this last night.
Well, he did have a lot of help of an NBA, 2 NBA players.
He can remember. Team. One NBA player, because Jalen Hood-Schifino wasn't on that first team. Remember?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he convinced Trace to stay. Remember, that was a thing. That was a thing that he did. Was his first?
Where was Trace going to go? I mean, other than to the portal,
to the NBA. Remember, that was what he was going to. He said it. That was what he said at the time.
He may have said it, but there was no chance. He barely got into the NBA after having a good year.
He would have ended up in the G League, but he was going to the G League rather than staying at IU. And Mike Woodson convinced him to stay. This is a thing that happened. So I'm not saying this to defend Mike Woodson. I'm saying this to say a new coach can come in and change some minds pretty quickly, right? So I do think that that's part of it. Like, you can rejuvenate a team off of the hype of a new coach and some like pretty good transfer portal pickups really quickly in college basketball these days, right? It is possible to do it. There's a reason that Mike Woodson's first 2 seasons are relatively successful, and there was some optimism. Was like he turned that roster over from Archie's guys pretty quickly. Now, obviously, Galloway and Leal stayed, good for them. But
you know what he didn't turn over? The coaching staff.
Well, part of it, yeah, exactly.
So he didn't turn over any of it.
Right. And again, this is not me defending Mike Woodson. This is not me saying that he did a good job building the program.
What coach have you ever seen come in and not bring a single assistant? Not one. Yeah. I've never seen that happen. And what coach have you ever seen come in college and the director of basketball ops, the Debo, that's a position that coaches young coaches in the making always hold. It's a learning position. It's not really much. It's just something where you get to learn a lot. You're kind of a right-hand man. Who's it? You know who Indiana's Debo is? Some old friend of Woodson's who just sits there and looks around. Paychecks. I have never seen a good old boy network like this regime has. The people that are on payroll for doing, I'm sorry, what? I've never seen a staff that has so many consultants that is so bad. Not one college basketball consultant. Not one. Not one coach who has spent all those years coaching college. Not one. The few that were on staff, out of here. Dane, bye. Dag on it now. I'm drawing a name.
You're thinking of Thad Matta. You're thinking of Thad Matta, probably.
Well, Thad Matta's another one. I forgot about Thad. And then Howard. Boom. Yeah. 3 guys. The college. I'm not going to mention the other coincidence of all 3 of those guys that have been forced out of the program. So it's just, there's just I think there is just a toxicity built into this program. I don't think that Mike Woodson listens to anyone. I think he has people around him that have learned that he's not going to listen. And I think there's some people that don't care. I think that Yasir Roseman is not one of those. I think he gets upset as hell, but he's just like, screw it. What can I do? I can't do anything. I'm going to take my check and just do whatever, because I don't think he listens to anyone. There's no way that you can imagine that he does, because there's been no improvement in all these areas. There's been so much regression.
And that's what I think. That's what's disappointing about this team to me, especially, is that the first couple of Woodson teams got better as the season went on. Like that, it is a real thing that happened, right? Like this team has not. I think that is kind of the issue, especially for me, is that you could see that there was some talent at the beginning of the season that like needed to congeal, and it just never did. Like it just never became a greater whole. And I think that is the most disappointing part, is that even last season, they got better as the season went on. And it did. There was optimism coming into this year because of some of the guys that got better at the end of last season, and it just didn't work this year, which is tough.
How much damage has Mike Woodson and Quinn Buckner done to their legacies? Any?
See, I don't think that much. Like the legacy that they had as players is going to stand.
As players,
Quinn Buckner, Quinn Buckner is he is one of the greatest players in the history of Indiana basketball. He is a member of one of the greatest athletes.
He's one of the greatest athletes in the history of Indiana University. He was a football player as well.
Yeah, and I do think, yeah, exactly. And like he's not going to micromanage this hire. He made a bad hire. Like there are a lot of athletic directors at a lot of schools who directed their alma mater, and like he's not the athletic director. I get it. But the hire, it was a bad hire. It didn't work. I don't think that is a legacy altering thing, right? It worked until it didn't, and now you get to make a different one. That's just how athletics works. The people who think of Quinn Buckner as some like kind of overarching villain of Indiana basketball who's pulling the strings behind the scenes because like he wants control, that to me seems silly.
Everybody wants somebody to blame. Everybody wants somebody to blame.
Exactly. And
next for you, brother.
I will be in West Lafayette on Friday night to see Purdue take on USC, which should be a lot of fun. So looking forward to that. And obviously Bloomington on Saturday for Dusty May. So looking forward to that as well.
That'll be something. Appreciate you, Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette, joining us here on the program today. Thank you, brother. All right. We've got more coming up right after this break from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. We're back with it right after this. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-701-0838. 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore help you find the home you want today. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33 Pizza. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue. And you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Waiting for Cal Neddenriep to join us here in a minute. And when he does, we'll get you caught up on the comings and goings of Indiana high school hoops right now, as getting closer and closer to tournament time, especially for the girls. That's about here. You've already had the draw. The boys run a little bit behind that, but that's going to be an exciting season to see if Fishers can just run rampant through 4A and go wire to wire. It'll be very interesting. Man, tiny Lanesville, they got bumped after winning back-to-back state titles up to 2A, but they're still rolling. They're 17-3, beating teams like Scottsburg. It'll be interesting to see how they can do. So looking forward to that. Julius Jizzy, man, new pal. Yeah, he just had a pedestrian week. Where was it I just saw? He had norms of, I think he had 30 points and 27 points in 2 different games. Yeah, that's rolling along pretty good. That's not bad. Not bad at all. We're going to talk to Kurt Cignetti later today. We'll have that on the program tomorrow. Be the first time we've spoken to him in a bit. And speaking of Kurt Cignetti, USA Today listed Indiana football as the #3 portal transfer class in all of the Big Ten. And not only that, #9 nationally. And with good reason. The Hoosiers brought in a lot of the right pieces, and they're not done. They obviously the biggest piece they brought in was Fernando Mendoza, the quarterback, who threw for over 3,000 yards at Cal last year, brother to Alberto Mendoza, already a member of the Indiana football roster at quarterback, both guys from Miami, Florida. Fernando has a lot of experience. He's got 2 solid years of collegiate experience under him with 2 years of eligibility remaining. That is a great situation for Indiana. You're set and solid at quarterback for 2 years. That is a luxury a lot of teams don't get anymore. A lot of teams. And they've also bulked up the offensive line with a great get from Notre Dame, that center, and a few more pieces. Now, Kidwell, who got hurt last year, he decided he is not going to pursue a medical red shirt, and he is done with football. But Indiana adding the pieces that they need to add, but not just at on the line, all around. And they're sitting good in recruiting. They recently got a commitment from a 2026 offensive lineman from Wisconsin. Big old boy, 6'4", 295, Bob Bostat, former Wisconsin offensive line coach, went up to cheese-eating country and got him a big old boy. I think that won't be the last. Success breeds success. And now you have kids that want to come to Indiana because of success. There will be NIL money, but there has to be success. And that is now there. That potential is there. Indiana played in the college football playoffs last year, for God's sake. Most college players did not get that opportunity last season. Indiana players on their roster did. So these guys looking at Indiana know that that's a good chance to happen again. Now, they're going to have to play very well next year. But next year is the season for Indiana to stamp legitimacy across their own forehead and tell it so everybody else can look at it. But to do that, they have to do two things. Illinois is probably going to be their toughest home game, and it comes early, fourth game of the season, right after the three puff games. Illinois is one of those teams that was right there to making the college football playoffs last year. So this will be a solid game. I wouldn't be surprised if Illinois is ranked at that time because they're expected to do well. I've seen them on lists of teams by people picked for a team that did not make the CFP last year that will make it this year. So that will be a win right off the bat if they get it. But if they beat Illinois, boom, right off the bat, Indiana has a legitimate win. So you get that out of the way. But then you follow that up with a trip to Iowa. So their Big Ten season starts out drastically different next year, and it remains drastically different because not only do they play Illinois to start, a CFP challenging type team, then you go to Iowa, and then you go to Oregon. So the first half of their season is not going to be like last year. We'll continue that talk now. And Kyle, I was talking closer to the tournament. I know the girls starts here soon, right?
Yeah, girls sectional started last night and continues through the week. And boys is kind of that weird week where it's mostly Thursday, pretty much all Thursday night, Saturday afternoon games.
And the boys is what, 3 weeks away?
Yeah, rough. Yeah, I think 3 weeks from yesterday would be the first round of sectional play.
Things are saying pretty much the same. Fishers is just still the team to beat. Who's the team that can beat them in 4A?
That's a good question. Westfield plays them on Thursday night, but I went and saw Westfield play Friday, and Avon hammered them by 16. I thought Avon might be the team to play with Fishers. They lost by 24. Greenfield Central did play them close in the Hall of Fame, lost to them by 5. Of course, they have an eraser with Braylon Mullins, but they did play him better than I probably would have expected. I thought Noblesville at the beginning of the season was going to give Fishers a good game. They did not. That was not a close game. I don't know, Jim. That's I've kind of been waiting for and Greenfield did give them that was probably one of their tougher games, I would say. There was a little stretch there where they weren't playing phenomenal defense, but man, when they get out and defend like they can, they just shoot the ball so well. They're going to spread the floor and really knock down shots. They share it well. There's just not a lot of weaknesses. The one weakness I would say potentially would be the interior play, and Lawrence North does have really good interior play, and that game will happen here soon. I think that's maybe 2 weeks out from yesterday. I can't remember for sure, but Lawrence North does play Fishers here this month. So that might be the team. Lawrence North, though, I covered them last week against New Pal, and they just could not hit 3-pointers. They really struggled. One of their guards was out. Webster was out with the ankle injury, so that did hurt him too. But I don't know. I would think a team with a really good interior play that attacks the basket and can handle their athleticism might have a chance. Lawrence North could be that team. I would think Jeffersonville too. If you think about teams like a team that has a Trey Singleton, I would give a good opportunity maybe to match up with them. And they have guards who PJ Douglas and Michael Cooper are two of the best. So I still think that Jeffersonville team, even, if you look at the records and everything, you can kind of throw it out a little bit with that team just because a good chunk of their season was played without Singleton. I still put them in that hierarchy of top teams, certainly. But I don't know. I don't even know if they can, I don't know. I mean, Fishers has handled everything. They're starting to get to that stratosphere now of, 31 wins in a row. They're not far off from really putting themselves in a different category of all-time teams. So it's interesting, and sometimes that pressure can get to you. I think like last year they were undefeated up until the Carmel game, lost that game, and then it seemed to sort of help them the rest of the way. So I don't know if that's necessary with this team. I don't think they need to have a loss to help them moving forward. I think they're just that good and that confident, and they've won one already, so you kind of have that that stigma of they'd never really won anything before up until last year. So but yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I think teams that have good, like Lawrence North, Jeffersonville, teams that are physical, they can score inside, I would think would have a better chance, but you also have to be able to handle that intense pressure they put on at every position. So it's a combination of things. To answer your question, there maybe isn't a team that can beat them.
You had a piece a couple of days ago about one team that's possible, although they have already taken an L from them, Avon, and more importantly, one of their leading players on that team, who they're having a good season. As a matter of fact, the only losses they've had have been to the Fishers, and who else did they lose to? Somebody else.
They lost to Plainfield in the opener, and then they avenged that loss in the Hendricks County pretty dominantly. So, but yeah, they, they're a team that they are physical, and I thought that was a team that maybe had a chance because they can handle the ball. The one thing about Avon, sometimes they don't shoot it great always from the perimeter, and you have to be able to score. They only scored 45 points against Fishers, so. But I do like that team. The issue, they don't have an easy sectional at all. They have, they'll have to beat probably Plainfield again, possibly. They have Ben Davis in there. They have Pike in there. Pike's playing really well. They have Brownsburg, which is better than its record shows. So it's a tough sectional to get through. But they do have the experience. They have a sectional championship last year that they won. So they got over that hump last year. So, they're definitely a team that is in that mix that could definitely be playing in the regional. But there are other teams in that sectional, too, that have that potential as well.
There were a lot of Indiana players in the Hoosier Boilermaker game on last Saturday, which was a great sign for Indiana players. But there are still so many more that could have been a part of that ironically, but that was a great showing. And I was down in Florida over the weekend in Montverde watching Trent Sisley. It was fun to watch him. So, him and Braylon have taken different paths, but I think that the path Trent took is working out for him because he is playing against top talent nonstop. I mean, guys like AJ DeBanza, who is a freak. If you have not seen him play, that dude I think he's a more athletic Magic Johnson, except for he doesn't have a 3-point shot. This guy's 6'9" and will bring the ball up the floor and just beat you off the dribble from the top of the key. It's kind of crazy, very intense, but I think that Purdue Indiana game showed that you don't have to leave the state, man. You can stay here.
Yeah, it was fun. I got to catch about the last 5 minutes. Listening on the radio, coming back from Avon Westfield game, and listened on the radio to that, and then watched about probably, like I said, the last 5 minutes or so. But yeah, it is fun. You think about, I was lucky enough. I covered the Logansville Regional, a couple of years in a row, and Luke Goody and Fletcher Lawyer were on that same team at Homestead. And then the next year, they lost to Carmel that year in the regional. And the next year, Luke Goody came back to watch. He was playing at Illinois at the time, and Fletcher was a senior at Homestead. And they were playing against Braden Smith and that Westfield team. And Luke, I sat right next to Luke that whole game. And so you kind of those connections you see out there on the court now, pretty cool to see. And Braden got the better of it. I remember that he got the better of Westfield in that game. And also Cam Hafner was on that team from Westfield, who's now at Evansville, and he kind of lit up Homestead. And so it's another in-state player who went on to an in-state program at Evansville. But yeah, it's fun to I have a lot of memories of watching those players in there in high school and talking to them, covering some of their bigger games. And Braden Smith, man, he was I got a chance to watch a lot of that Iowa game last night, and man, he's something else. I mean, he just he finds the motivation within about anything, and that's how he kind of gets himself going. And he's not always he doesn't love the media as far as like talking to the media all the time, but you got to appreciate his driven nature that he has, and he's one who's maximized everything he's got for sure.
What's up next for you?
I got some football signing day stuff on the site right now. Some of these bigger names too in the 26 and 27 classes, like Jeremy Finch Jr. and Monsoon Sales from Lawrence North, receiver. They're starting to get some bigger offers now, and we'll start to see that happening more. Some of those guys will be, we're only a few months away from them really starting to cut their list down and maybe even committing by, some of them even, this month, probably not this month, but we're not far off from that for the 26 class. Football recruiting sort of a domino thing. So some of these top guys will start to get things lined up before too long. And there's a really good group, a lot of 3-stars in that 26 class, and then 27 Sales will be a 4-star at least, I think, at receiver, 6'5", and he's got SEC offers. So there's a lot going on. Even in the middle of basketball season, there's some football stuff happening too.
Always is, man. Indiana becoming a football state all of a sudden. We'll enjoy it. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star. Make sure you're giving him a follow and be a subscriber. Keep local papers alive. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you as always.
You bet. Have a good day, Jim.
Thank you, sir. Kyle Neddenriep joining us. Up next, Sir Rick Bozich, the man you've been waiting for. We're back with more to the Hard Truth Distilling Company Studios right after this. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Maria in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Rye, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Joined now by Sir Rick Bozich from WDRB.com, a long-time journalist covering Indiana since 1976. And boy, that was not that did not remind you of 76 here last night or anytime soon. I can tell you that. But it is what it is. And I got to be honest, I don't know that I didn't expect that start, but I don't know that Indiana did. But I don't know what I was expecting from them to bring last night after those two, not only gut-wrenching losses, but the animosity that seemed to be at the end of the Purdue game. You know, this team seems fractured and factioned. It's just not. I don't know that Humpty Dumpty can, be put back together again. It's just cracked.
I mean, you see evidence on the court when they're playing defense. They don't all look like they're doing the same thing. They're all not following.
Arguing. Why aren't you over here? This, that.
Pointing. Yeah, you're supposed to be over here. And they have different thoughts or philosophies or ideas about a way to play screens. And a lot of times it's not effective. And I went back at halftime and charted the first beginning of the game when the Wisconsin hit 7 of those 8 3-point shots, and 6 of them were wide open. I mean, the guy that was closing out was 5 feet away, and it was a different player every time. And then there was one miss in there, and then the last one was the one from the corner. It was decent defense by Rice, but it's like every guy in the team is either over helping or not in position where he needs to be or hasn't been told, even though Wisconsin starts its offense usually with all 5 guys on the outside of the 3-point line, that this is a team that, leads the Big Ten in 3-point shooting attempts. That's what they're going to do. And it was just like watching
business as usual.
It was like watching 12th graders against 7th graders. I mean, it was ridiculous.
You know what? That's the very response I gave to someone. They said, this looks like an NBA game. And I said, bull crap. It looks like an elementary school game.
Yeah. I mean, they had and he called 2 timeouts and tried to fix it. And, I guess after a while he fixed it a little bit, but because even if you're wide open, you're not going to keep hitting 7 out of 8 threes. But to get knocked out like that, and was it 8-0 and 19-2 and 26-4? I mean, the final score is so misleading and irrelevant. It was just a game that was over before the first TV timeout. And then after the game, what was his comment here? I got it. It's hard for me to explain. It's hard for me to explain. Actually, it's pretty easy for everybody to explain. It's not hard at all to explain. they're not coached very well, and
Here's
not.
one.
Right now, we're not tough. We're just not a tough team right now. We're not.
I mean, it's more than just toughness.
But he says we're not a tough team now, as if you expect it to get there. You only have 9 games or whatever left in your career as a coach after 4 years, and you're still not a tough team. You're still not doing this right. You're still not doing that. You got to get them better. Dude, time has run out. The sand is gone. And it seems oblivious to all of that. It's like he lives on Groundhog Day.
Yeah. Maybe he's just afraid to understand the reality of the situation. Because, I mean, I don't think there's anybody, there's not anybody that outside of his family and closest friends who can think this is going to end in a positive way for him. It's just a matter of how gracious it's going to be, whether it's going to be unpleasant or whether it's going to be a high road situation where he can leave with still some of the support of fans who remember him when he played at IU, because this isn't going to end well.
Well, the lack of accountability is what is going to
He threw the players under the bus again last night, Jim. You heard what he said.
I truly am starting to believe he is so oblivious that he just does not get it. I think he's lost half the time. When Goody had to go get him to bring you back to the handshake line, I don't think that was out of animosity. I think he was just lost. It was a Biden moment.
I don't know about that. It's just a matter of whatever he's teaching, he's not teaching it very well, or he's teaching the wrong things, one or the other, because I'm not saying Indiana should be even a top 25 team, but they shouldn't be.
No, they should be. They should be.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe.
Talent-wise.
The only reason I hesitate to say that is because the pieces don't fit together very well. They still have they've got 3 front court guys who are good at a number of things they do, but none of them are really good defensively at moving and guarding guys away from the basket. That's a major flaw. So the team construction hasn't been good, but there's no way they should be this bad. I mean, they've got better talent than this record by far. And the people who helped the coaching staff get these players for however much money they spent, and we've all heard the numbers, they're not getting a very good return on their investment. And the fans know how much they're getting. And that adds to the anger and animosity that's out there about this, saying, and then, as you guys I just heard you talking with Kyle, then for them to go up and lose to Purdue, where Purdue has all these in-state guys who aren't making as much money, and then they go into Iowa and win at a place where Indiana can't win. I mean, it just keeps the pile of evidence is, like the Empire State Building on one side, and then it's like this big on the other side of what he's doing right. Which one of these assistant coaches could be a head coach tomorrow? None.
That's his point. That's Jeff's point. And I mentioned this earlier with Dylan, that not only that, I've just never ever seen a coach come in and not bring a single coach with him. None. He just took the leftovers. He had Dane Fife kind of.
He brought in Yasir.
Well, he had to bring him in because of Tom Ostrom getting the boot.
Right. Yeah, and Kenny Payne recommended him, but I mean, he brought in Armand Hill. That was the guy he brought in, and
I'm sorry, he's the Debo who sits there and does he pick up a towel or something? What does he do?
We don't know what he does.
For that, director of basketball operations is a job for a young guy who's just finished being a GA. He's on his way to being a coach, and that's the next step. Right. And that's just a paycheck for this guy. Right. How many? And there are other guys that are on the payroll, consultants, that not one consultant is a consultant that spent years coaching college basketball. Not one.
Whitman and Jim Stack and those guys.
Yes. But would he listen to anybody? I don't think he listens to anybody anyway.
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem like he does, and that seems to be the consensus opinion that he doesn't listen to people. But it's not working in any way. It's not working in terms of the results on the floor. It's not working in terms of player development. It's not working in terms of understanding what he's trying to accomplish. It's not working in terms of recruiting. It's definitely not working in terms of the product being one that fans are excited to watch. I mean, you hear a lot of people say they don't even watch anymore. They're going to watch Saturday because of how intriguing it's going to be. But yeah, I agree. The scheme is bad with two big guys filling the lane. It's not bad, but it's not a good scheme. And last night, that was like the one shocking development of the whole game is that he didn't start the two bigs to start the second half. But you know, the lineup he started last night, I can't believe neither Galloway nor Goody was in the starting lineup. That didn't make any sense.
Nothing he does makes sense anymore. And the starters for last night for Indiana combined for 35 points. That all 5 of them combined. The only 8 players in total played. The 3 subs that played combined for 29 points. So they averaged more points per player than the starters.
Well, he left the starters in at the end of the game that helped make the final score look more respectable. Some people will look at it and say they only lost by 12. No, they really lost by 25. It was 70-47 when I quit watching it.
Well, there's no doubt. I sent out a tweet last night that said this might not be the last game that Mike Whitson coaches for Indiana, but it is the last game that anyone doubts that his last game coaching Indiana is coming.
That's true. Yeah, that's definitely true.
And last night just really, I don't think there's anything going to happen before the end of the season anyway. I don't think that there should, to be my opinion. It's not going to do any good. I think that you would probably cause more damage with this team. This team is a very fragile psyche, man.
Yeah.
So I don't know that you want to mess with that. You're going to do it. So just wait. It doesn't matter. If you're going to give Chris Beard a chance, you don't have to worry about him. He'll crawl to Bloomington. There's no doubt about that. He gave you an indication about that with his comment at halftime of his big win over Kentucky. And that is also a sign, because who does Indiana start playing next year? That's right, people. Kentucky is back on the schedule at Rupp Arena. You have to go into that game with somebody who is tough. Chris Beard's tough. He's my pick. I don't know that Indiana will do that. What do you think? Will they give him that second chance? I mean, he's gone to Ole Miss. He tried to put that stuff behind him. Is it something that an Indiana is just going to eliminate him?
I don't know the decision makers' thoughts on that well enough to be confident in what I'm going to say. My guess would be they would be uncomfortable with hiring him and dealing with some of the criticism that would come with it because of the situation Beard was involved in, even though there was never weren't the charges dropped in the end. And it's been over 3 years. He sat out a year and then he's coached. This is his 3rd year at Ole Miss, so it's been 3 years. He didn't even finish the last year at Texas. So I'd say it probably won't happen, but I'd say it should be definitely discussed. North Carolina will be looking for a coach too, I think.
Yeah, definitely, without question. Indiana,
Florida State, and Villanova could be looking for a coach. I mean, Iowa could be looking for a coach. There's going to be a lot of jobs open, and there's not a huge pool of candidates.
For Indiana, to me, it's a very, very small pool that Scott Dolson already has these names. He has to have. He has to be doing his due diligence right now. Especially
because I'm sure he was doing it last year. If we know, I mean, he knew who he wanted last year.
If Chris Beard is on that list, I think that the due diligence has been done. It has to have been. To me, it comes down to, will they look at Dusty May? I think that they have to, only because he does not have a low buyout for nothing. But
if you think Dusty May is the guy, then you definitely have to talk to him and figure out if I mean, $5 million won't be an impediment to getting it. The only reason he wouldn't come is because he'd be reluctant to walk out on a commitment to Michigan after 1 year, which
but why did he get the low buy? He negotiated the low buyout for a reason.
Yeah, you're probably right, but I mean,
That's like 1 year's salary.
I don't disagree. It's just a matter of whether he would do it or not. I don't know him well enough, and he's already going to be in an uncomfortable situation this Saturday coming in there.
Oh yeah,
it's going to be awkward for everybody. I mean, that's going to be
going to get a standing ovation, and Mike Woodson might get booed. Kind of like the opposite happened at Mackey Arena, where he got a standing ovation from the Purdue fans, and yeah, that's funny. That's
other than those two, who do you think is somebody that they would consider?
TJ Otzelberg from
I don't think he would ever come. His wife is a former Iowa State volleyball player. I think
I'm just throwing some names out there that are succeeding right now, because Indiana basketball, and someone mentioned it earlier, and I agree, unlike Indiana football, there's no track record. There's no success. There's no tradition. Zip. It was a coffin, a cemetery. And so you could bring in a Kurt Signetti hoping that he is the guy, and he turned out to be the guy. I don't know that will work with Indiana basketball. It would if you got the right guy. I just think it's harder to do that, because with Indiana basketball, it's gonna. I don't care about boxes, I don't care about an Indiana connection or all of that stuff, but there are still boxes. You have to be a coach that is engaged with the fan base, and understands the tradition of winning. I don't know who all fits into there. I'll be honest with you. I would not have. Mark Pope, not a guy I would have figured going to Kentucky. Pat Kelsey, not a name I thought would have been at Louisville.
Exactly.
There is, so that's why I'm like, hey, I'm not going to pretend I know everything. I don't. I'm just throwing out the obvious names. Chris Beard is, to me, without question, a home run hire. I just think that he matches his persona, his personality, what he demands of his players. I think it just fits in with Indiana, and he wins, and he'll win more. If he can win at Ole Miss, my God, what do you think he would do at an Indiana?
Yeah, no, he's a phenomenal coach. And if he didn't have the incident in his past, I don't think there'd be any hesitation about it. But if he didn't have the incident in his past, he'd still be the coach at Texas, so he wouldn't be available. So there's that.
You never know.
Yeah. I don't even think they should consider Scott Drew. He turned down Kentucky and he turned down Louisville. Why waste your time talking to him? He's probably not going to come, and then you just get turned down by somebody and it looks bad.
Oh, first of all, you have to back channel the interest. Do you have interest? Yes or no? If it's no, just say no. That's fine. If it's yes, then you have to have the conversation without question. It's been a few years, or been a year or so since maybe things change. He's still doing well at Baylor, but sometimes you just want a change or a challenge.
I think that's a waste of time myself. You can move on, and there's other candidates out there. I think Buzz Williams is an interesting candidate. He's done a good job.
Wow.
He won at Marquette. He won at Virginia Tech, and he's winning now at Texas A&M. They're in the top.
Why not
10.
Shaka Smart?
Yeah, I've got some connections to Shaka Smart. I think he likes living in Milwaukee and likes his team and likes competing in the Big East. So I don't think that's a possibility. Not sure.
What about Rick Pitino? I'm kidding, but
what about Richard?
Hey, let me tell you. No.
What about Chris Collins? There's a name that I've heard discussed.
I have heard that, and no, I just.
They need an alpha. They need an alpha male.
That's why the Chris Beard, it doesn't. He is an alpha male. Dusty's not an alpha male, but yes, this position needs an alpha male that will not allow to happen what this team is doing. There's no respect for this coaching staff. There's no respect for what is supposed to be done. There's no respect for the program. There's no respect for, I don't think, the fans. There's no respect for getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to do what you're supposed to do and know where the hell you're supposed to be in position 3/4 of the way through the season, but you still don't. Are you kidding me? You know what? Most people get fired for that. Unfortunately, none of these people can get fired. We've got to take a break. We've got the great Rick Bozich with us from WDRB.com. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum, Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Realty at cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-701-0838. 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore help you find the home you want today. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33 Pizza. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Wednesday. Rick, big game for Purdue last night as they go out to Iowa City and hang 90 on the Hawkeyes. Speaking of which, I've talked about Iowa all the time. They are the most milquetoast, generic, mediocre, lukewarm program in the country. They just exist. It seems like, and
I mean, he had some good teams when he had Garza and a few of those guys. I mean, weren't they 2 or 3 seeds in the NCAA tournament? They were pretty good when they had Garza. And
well,
what
you had
was
the
the guy
player of the year. You're supposed to be good when you have the player of the year, aren't you?
Well, but he wasn't a big name recruit. They developed him. I mean, Fran McCaffrey's done a decent job, but there's one issue he's had is something he's never been able to fix is he doesn't coach or he doesn't believe in playing defense. And
he
always had an elite offense and they always had a crappy defense. And when you play that way, he never even got to the Sweet 16. I mean, he had the Murray twins. I mean, he had some good players.
Is this going to be his last season, you think?
Some people think it is, that he's going to retire at the end of the year, that he realized. I mean, his son left, went to play at Butler. His youngest son's going to play at Butler. His other son
isn't that kind of embarrassing?
Well, I think people took it as a sign that they knew he wasn't going to be there to coach him. So
I was going to say, yeah. And it's no accident that he went to Butler to play for Thad Matta, but he also has another brother that works for the Pacers.
Yeah, that's right. I thought he left. I thought he works for Matta. Maybe he doesn't work for Matta. He works for the Pacers.
Maybe he does. I don't know. But Caitlin Clark's boyfriend.
Yeah, the older Connor McCaffrey.
They've got the entire half the McCaffreys have moved to Indianapolis.
So you got to think mom and dad will follow them so they can keep the family together.
Oh my goodness. My goodness. Coaching searches are always fun. It brings excitement and a lot of thought-provoking, a lot of agreement and disagreement. This is a little bit different. In the last 2 cycles when Indiana was on the hunt, the last cycle, they just didn't seem to really have a viable candidate. They tried to go after Brad Stevens very, very unsuccessfully, but there just didn't seem to be anybody else for them that was available. Before that, I don't recall, because Fred Glass just went straight to Archie Miller. I don't really remember who all was available, but there were plenty of coaches.
There was talk about Tony Bennett, but I don't know if they even talked to him or how serious it was. But there was talk that Tony Bennett would. That was before he won a national title at Virginia,
and before he decided to resign because of NIL. But
there was talk about
now, would he still be coaching if he had come to Indiana, because NIL would not be a problem?
Yeah, he's not ever going to come to Indiana though, because his sister got fired as the women's coach, and I don't think he wants to deal with NIL in any way. And I'm not sure his style of basketball.
It is a very boring brand.
It's a very boring brand of basketball. That he did win the one national championship, but man, he's got some really head scratching losses in the NCAA tournament.
None bigger than losing to the number 16 seed.
UMBC, yeah. I don't know. I mean, there's some young guys out there who are doing well at lower levels, but I don't think this is a kind of job where you need somebody who is going to have to deal not only with the change of recruiting the kind of players you need to win in the Big Ten, but the responsibilities of being the Indiana basketball coach, because it's certainly much more than coaching. And that's one area where Mike Woodson has really let the program down, is that this entire season he's been in the bunker. He's done one pregame media availability all season since they've got to the Bahamas, one time. And like last night after the game, what did he talk for 4 minutes?
He's not going to answer any questions with anything anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
I mean,
it's all the same. It is what it is. I think that anyone that pretends otherwise just has their head in the sand, and it's a shame. But the Indiana connection and Mike Woodson, it's basically non-existent. For one thing, it was a lifetime ago. I think that he forgot any and all things that he learned in that role, because he does not pass that on. That is not how he coaches. His teams don't play that way. His teams respect anybody, it seems like. What Ballo did, I get it. I get the frustration of losing, and I love that kind of intensity. But at the same time, you've got to be able to – you can't wait 5 minutes and show that in the locker room. Throw a chair. I don't care what you do out of sight of people. But to act like a complete total ass walking off the floor up the tunnel like that, it's just no class.
Yeah, it wasn't a good look. And you compound that with didn't he get into an incident in the Illinois game too, when Goody got into it with the Iowa players, then Ballo pushed somebody, and I'm sure the frustration there is very intense. I'm sure they thought they were going to be a better team than this. I'm sure they realize now that they're probably going to miss the NCAA tournament. And I'm sure that, like all kids and young men at that age, they read about what people are saying on social media about them, and it's pretty dark and pretty hostile. So it can't be fun going to practice and preparing for games when you know you really have nothing to play for. At this point, you're playing for pride. I mean,
and that's another thing. This team, way, way, way too much time on social media. I understand that a lot of kids do that, and I get it. But when you're having the type of season they are, or dealing with the things that they are, common sense has to tell you it's just not a good place for you to be. And you damn sure should not be having conversations with people on there.
Not arguing.
When just idiocy. And I'm going back, that video that they made before the season, the dance video with Galloway and Gabe Cupps, I think. I mean, I'm like, come on.
I didn't
That
see
just
that
shows
one. I
you.
don't look at it.
Well, you it's ridiculous. They're just doing a little dance and I'm like, what the hell is that? Why would you put that out there for anybody to see? Just focus on what you're supposed to focus on, man. They always talk about, oh, this team bonded so well and they love each other so well. Bull crap. No, they don't. Showing those stupid dance videos doesn't do jack. Showing them out fishing doesn't mean squat. It's what they do on the floor and in the locker room. That's when and where it matters. And that's not the case as to what that they're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think all individuals that age should spend less time on social media and worrying about what people say on social media. But it's obviously a big problem that it's everywhere. It's not just at IU. And it's when you're having the kind of year you're having, you just leave yourself open to more criticism if you do stuff like that. So there we go. Getting down to the Big Ten tournament, coming tiebreakers. That would be the ultimate embarrassment if they don't make the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, I don't see that happening because Washington and Penn State are just abysmal right now, along with Minnesota is trying to make a charge, but Northwestern has joined that fray in the bottom. So right now,
didn't they win a game though without Barnheiser? Was that last night or the night before?
It must have not. Let's see. Northwestern has won one straight, so if they played last night, they won. So, but that got them into a tie for the third spot out right now. And I don't know what the tiebreaker between Northwestern and Minnesota is between them, if they have played yet, but they're tied in conference play. Rutgers down there, Iowa and Nebraska all tied right in front of them. Then you have Indiana, and it's not a stretch to say because Indiana plays Michigan next, followed by Michigan State. If they were to lose both of those games, that would put them at 5-9. And
then they play UCLA, which has won 6 in a row and just beat Michigan State.
Indiana is going to be close. I've said all year long that they're going to be a first-day player in the Big Ten tournament. I completely expect them to make it, but they're going to be close. They're going to be the lowest seed on the first day. Not the lowest, but they're going to be one of the under seeds on the first day of play in the Big Ten tournament. And that is just $5 million. Actually add the $4 million that Mike Woodson is making. Add the additional $2 million that the ancillary coaches are making. That's over $11 million just in the stuff that he can think of for that season. And it's abysmal.
It's not good. It's not a good product. And it's not been a good product for a long time. I mean, the last time
Scott Dolson's thinking process. I keep saying there's no point in making a move right now. And I think that he's in a bad position. He can't talk to anybody per se. You can do the back channeling to other coaches, whether through agents or however that gets done. But I think that this team's psyche is so fragile, like I said, that I just don't see the point in doing anything. Plus, I think Woodson is the kind of a guy you need to let him go down with the ship. He's been driving this ship. Let him go down with the ship, and there will be no excuses. He had every opportunity. He had all the resources, and he had all of the chances to win there as well.
Yeah, hold on. Hey, Ruby. Hold on. Somebody's at the door. I'll be right back. Hold on.
Ruby, we got to take a break, Ruby. Hey, can you hear Ruby? I don't think so.
Ruby.
But, yeah, Ruby's excited. We'll have to bam. We took care of that. Took care of that. Rick Bozich will be back with us here in just a second Well, he's making a Ruby run. Ruby, meet Hank. Thanks, laying down there just checking it out. But yeah, he'll get to meet Ruby one day. Ruby's a full size.
So Ruby, it's a UPS guy. He's dropping off a package.
Is it for Ruby?
No.
Too bad. That's why Ruby's barking. She's not happy.
Here's the problem. The UPS guy we used to have, every time he came, he would leave her a treat. And the new people don't realize the rules of the game. And so she's expecting a treat. So maybe if I give her a treat, Ruby, come here.
I'd maybe leave a note for the UPS guy. Hey, you've been failing.
Hey, that gets expensive if you're a UPS driver and you got to leave a dog treat for every
Dude, you know what those guys make? They make like $45 an hour or something.
They can't leave a treat with every dog every day. They'll go broke. All right, I'm done. I gave her a cookie.
Getting bit.
I'll be there Saturday, Jim. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Snyder says you have to wonder how Scott feels with all those donors. Probably can't look them in the face for bringing Woodson back for his 4th year. He almost didn't have
true though, because I don't.
No, he didn't have a choice last year. I don't think.
Right.
Otherwise, it's the same thing for firing him now instead of at the end of the season. You would have had you didn't let him. You didn't give him the full chance and all that. It would have been nice for them to have let him go last year, but I understand why they didn't. So there is that.
I understand why they didn't, but man, it wasn't that hard to see what was going to happen, first of all. And secondly, it wasn't that hard to see what the opportunity cost was. And what the opportunity cost was is you lost to get a guy that I think that would have been a good hire in Dusty May, possibly lost it. And secondly, you lost a chance to, you hurt your chances to get Braylon Mullins. I think if Dusty May's the coach at IU, that could have turned out differently because he would have recruited him a lot harder. So I don't know about Harrelson. Maybe Harrelson would have gone to Notre Dame anyway. But that was a very poor decision to push the chips in on $5 million and go get Miles Rice and Umar Ballo and Cannon Carlisle and Goody and Hatton over a different way of doing it. I don't know.
I think that there's just been too much of Woodson deciding this is how he is going to do it. He can't recruit. He's not a recruiter. It's too hard for him to put the effort in. So he's just going to do it this way because it's easier.
Here's the thing though, Jim. That's been known by people for several years. I mean, people at IU even had to know that he wasn't getting out and going to the high school games the way other people were doing it. That started with Xavier Booker. I remember Xavier Booker was playing in games in Indianapolis, and Izzo and Painter and different guys would show up and they would say, well, Woody's not there. And they didn't get Xavier Booker. And then Badunga, they weren't able to get him. And
Liam McNeely.
Liam McNeely, supposedly he didn't build the connection after he committed, and his family got cold feet. And even they got Sicily, but I remember the reports on Sicily that Painter was out working him for that. He didn't get him, but Painter was making more trips to Heritage Hills.
Painter outworked him 3-1.
Yeah. So I mean, that's where his lack of understanding of the way college basketball works really came back to bite IU. And that's the kind of thing I think you could have used in saying, this isn't working because he doesn't get this is an essential part of the job. This is a high priority of the job to do it. And, it wasn't hard to predict this was going to happen. I think most people who follow IU basketball real close believe that this is the way this season was going to turn out. And it has. I mean, throw in the fact that last year, what did we talk about in the last 2 years? That when they played in big name games against Arizona or Auburn,
they get blown out.
They not only lose, they get blown. They don't even look competitive. It was like the first half in the game against Wisconsin, where the game is over in the first 10 minutes. It's like there's too many examples that people just overlooked them and believed in a sort of a fairy tale that just because he got these more talented players, it was going to be better.
And it is not. And now you've got Dusty May coming to town on Saturday. I texted Dusty to try to have him on, and I tried to say specifically only to talk about your team, your season, and the Big Ten race only, because I know that it would have been. I didn't hear back from him, but and I understand he doesn't want to be in this position.
Nobody.
This is not enjoyable for him at all.
And he's been on your show previously, right?
Oh, yeah. And he will be again as soon as it's over. It's with the game coming up. What's up next for you, brother?
Louisville plays tonight. They finally have their 10-game winning streak broken. They lost to Georgia Tech last Saturday. They're at Boston College tonight. They should win pretty easily. And then heading up to Bloomington on Saturday. 1 o'clock tip, right?
I don't remember the exact time, but
I think
sure.
I think it's 1 o'clock on CBS.
Ooh,
another
CBS
national TV exposure.
Cannot wait for that. That'll be something. Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. If you're not following him, you're missing out on a lot. Appreciate you as always, my friend.
All right. I'll see you Saturday, buddy.
See you Saturday, sir.
Bye.
That's going to wrap it up for us today. Big thanks to each and every one of you. Without you, there's no reason for us to be here. So we could not be happier for the opportunity. We're back tomorrow to do it again. And we shall do so. Stephen Bardo on the program tomorrow, amongst others. Bob Kravitz is back as well. Until then, I am Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.